Hello, everybody, and welcome to another brand new live episode of the Hot Mic, coming to you a little bit early in the day today because of scheduling issues and what have you here on the Outlaw Nation. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the man with the plan, the man who dropped a big scoop last week, credited or not, Jeff Sneider. How are you, Jeff?
I am good. And yes, to all the listeners today, I apologize that we're taping a little bit early. I wasn't invited to see Black Adam, in recent weeks. And so on Monday, I complained to Warner Brothers. I was like, hey, are you guys having any screenings? I really like to review for LA Mag. And they go, oh, we're having one in an hour. Can you get up to Burbank? I was like, no, I can't get up. I can't drop my entire life to go see Black Adam in Burbank in 57 minutes. So I have to see it this afternoon. I'm going to see it at 4 because I had plans tonight already. I got a review for LA Mag. That's why we're taping early. Sorry.
Right, that's right. And we should make the big announcement here. As you guys notice, right above our heads is the logo for Above the Line. Jeff, you want to tell them what the situation is? The big announcement here?
Sure. Above the Line, the new trade that we launched a couple of weeks ago has decided to sponsor the podcast.
Hey-o!
Great. So basically, I'm going to, when this podcast wraps, I will then write a little article on Above the Line and embed the video on the site. And that'll, just give the site some presence in the podcast video sphere. And I think we put out, a great product, better than anything else the trades can offer. That's for sure.
I agree with you 100%. So Above the Line is now sponsoring the Hot Mic, which is great. Coming up, Carbon Health sponsoring the Geek Buddies. To have another company sponsoring a show here on the channel is fantastic stuff. So thank you to Above the Line. Looking forward to it. And for those of you who haven't signed up for the podcast, the Hot Mic is its own podcast feed. So as we're talking, you should definitely go and sign up there. Get us. Our numbers high up there. We're on the iHeartRadio network. We're on Spreaker. Get us high up there so we can start attracting even more people to put ads on the show as well. And we're going to break this whole thing down, jump into a lot of stuff going on in the world of entertainment for sure. All that's fit to print and not fit to print, and some big news that we might be dropping throughout the show as well. Jeff, let's start off. And remember, send in your Streamlabs and your Super Chats. Just because we're sponsored doesn't mean we don't still want to get some Streamlabs and Super Chats rolling through here. Send them in. The address is pinned in the chats right above Jeff's head. And I will, and it's also in the description of this video for sure. Jeff, DC news. Let's jump into it. This has been the big story for the last couple of days. I saw Black Adam last night. You're seeing it today, as you mentioned. But there was a big new article from THR, the Hollywood Reporter. Thank you to them for crediting us on their Harrison Ford story. But they have talked about all these rumors that are going around and all the stories they're getting from their sources that it's essentially the Wild Wild West over there at Warner Brothers Discovery right now. Even though you've got DeLuca and Abdi in charge of things, people are pitching left and right. James Gunn's got a secret movie. There's talk about a Man of Steel 2 coming. There's talk about what to do with Justice League. There's all these moving pieces going around in all of this that we're done with the smaller movie approach. They want big swings, big approaches to this stuff. Jeff, what do you take from all of this? Does this feel like even more instability on the Warner Brothers Discovery kind of side of things? Or is this more a matter of like they're just kind of a little bit scattered, but they are slowly moving into a laser-focused one lane here going forward?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to tell what is really going on up in Burbank.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Hollywood Reporter even mentioned the phrase power vacuum. And then
yes,
there was a quote denying like, no, there's no power vacuum or anything. But it's like, you don't hire DeLuca to make DC movies. I get that DC movies are, the most important thing going on at Warner Brothers right now, at least, especially with Harry Potter seeming to sort of, cool off.
Yeah.
But that's not, I get that DeLuca could do it, but that's not really his strength. DeLuca's strength is in making like, I don't know, more adult movies and stuff like that. I think that they will end up hiring a separate executive who can just think DC all the time. Like that's their only job is mapping out this universe and stuff. Mm-hmm. DeLuca just has too much of a skill set to just focus on one silo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, John.
Well, I like the idea of DeLuca and Abdi kind of overseeing it for now, kind of being caretakers for now until they find that run person. They were going to have Dan Lin, if I remember correctly, but the conversations, the talks fell through. So clearly that wasn't the path they wanted to walk. And they just lost Walter Hamada and he is not retaining a producing deal with Warner Brothers, which is a real surprise. That's kind of a rarity in Hollywood, because you at least it maintains the connection, even though it didn't work out as an executive. You're essentially going to be able, like Amy Pascal doing stuff for Sony, even though she got let go after those emails. There's this idea that, okay, you make a connection. So that speaks volumes as well. This is the 5th high-ranking executive that's left since Zaslav has taken over, and there hasn't been much stability since he has taken over. And what's crazy is now you've got The Rock coming in, Dwayne Johnson, who you guys know I worship at the altar at, but I got to be honest, him coming in saying, well, I want to have essentially the WrestleMania of superhero films and having Black Adam versus Superman with no buildup, and he might be overseeing this direction that DC is going in. I don't know, man. This doesn't feel like a strong move in any way, shape, or form for me. I know people love The Rock, but it's not like his movies have been these incredible, groundbreaking, nuanced explorations of the characters that he's playing in these movies. So I'm just a little uncertain about where they're going next.
Listen, people love The Rock, John, but this weekend we're going to find out just how much they love him. Okay?
Yeah.
I think it's a huge mistake to entrust a comic book movie brand to an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Even one as big as The Rock, who may very well be, the biggest movie star, in the world these days. Although obviously, to me, it's Tom Cruise and Leo and everybody else. Yeah. But Robert Downey Jr. didn't do this in Marvel. Robert Downey Jr. wasn't like, I want to see Iron Man do this and this, and now we're gonna shift our whole the whole development slate, to cater to my whims. I don't think that is the right move. I do think that. The Danny Garcia of it all, you can't ignore that. You can't ignore that Henry Cavill is managed by the same people who manage Dwayne, who is, that's his ex-wife, Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
So, it just seems like that, clearly The Rock has a lot of influence on that lot. I felt like Warner Brothers did Walter Hamada dirty, man. They shivved on the way out. You're right. He should have gotten some kind of big exit package or something. Some sort of golden parachute where he's going to be a producer and EP on these DC movies for years to come. He put in, it's got to be at least 2 decades at New Line. And that just speaks to Zaslav, right? And I don't know. There's things I wanted to say, but I'm like, maybe don't say that. What is it tracking to open at now? I feel like the tracking keeps going down.
135 million globally.
First of all, whenever they start telling you this is the domestic number, and now then halfway through they switch to now it's the international number because that's a bigger number. That's not a good number. 135 international, let's say.
135 international is what it's projecting at right now, and so I'm already preparing what order of steak to order Jeff for, because I'm going to lose this bet, I imagine, over the weekend because I saw it last night.
We can make another one. I'll give you another opportunity.
Okay.
You got to pick a good number.
60 million. It'll open at 60 million domestically.
All right. Because I will give you the opportunity to get this stake back. I will take the under.
Okay. Under 60. Wow. You know what? To be fair, how about I go at 70 and you can take the under? I think that's fair.
Okay. I mean, how about we make it interesting? We'll do 65.
65. All right. So Jeff's taking the under.
You get your stake back
if
it opens above 65. Okay. But if it opens under 65, I'm definitely getting the stake.
Yes, you are. Absolutely. 100%. Okay. You can get a bloomin' onion. Fuck it. I mean, I'll give you a bloomin' onion too. Yeah. But so we'll see. But but look, again, I love The Rock. I worship at the altar of The Rock. But The Rock didn't executive produce those Fast and Furious movies. That was Vin Diesel. I wonder if this is a little bit of The Rock wanting to be in control of a franchise and an entire IP in DC and maybe influence its direction. But if we're going the direction of what I saw last night, I'll just give you a taste. I'm not going to be excited about what's coming forward for DC. Yes, there were some great superhero villain fights. I'm not going to reveal too much.
Well, I mean, have you reviewed it on your channel?
I haven't reviewed it on my channel yet. No, I just did.
That's why you don't want to get into
it. Right. I just did an out of theater reaction, but I can review it with you here because obviously I'm still going to do a review, but mine's going to be a spoiler review tomorrow. I'm not doing a non-spoiler one. So if you want to do a non-spoiler one, I can tell you that. For me, the action fight sequences are fantastic. The set pieces are gorgeous. The special effects are gorgeous when you're inside the carrier jet, when you're inside these installations. But the story itself is so lightweight, and it's addressing a very serious issue, you think initially, and then it becomes cheeseball lines, cheeseball moments that aren't really earned. And so for me, in the end, I was left unsatisfied, as John Malkovich might say. It's aggressively okay. That's what I would say. It's aggressively okay. Certainly not unwatchable, but if you're looking for something to really connect to and cheer on and, kind of explore this stuff that they're presenting in the movie about occupiers taking over a land and needing a hero, it really does the surface window dressing treatment to it rather than actually getting deeper into it like it should have. So, but The Rock, he's fine as Black Adam. We'll see what happens with it, but he's certainly fine. And I won't say anything about the post-credit scene. So,
okay, so let's break down more of that Hollywood Reporter DC story because
sure.
I haven't seen Black Adam yet myself. So they mentioned that James Gunn,
yes,
is going to be doing multiple other projects, right?
Right.
But we don't have any idea what they are.
Nope, he's angling for his own new DC project or two. So what does that mean? Does he feel like he has more? More leeway to create and pitch stuff because of Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad than he does at Marvel? Like, is this the end of him at Marvel with Guardians of the Galaxy 3? And now he's just seeing, okay, I want to keep making superhero movies. I have to do it in DC. Do you think that's why this is being reported, that he seems to have more space to do that here?
I mean, I think that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 feels like the natural end to that trilogy. And I don't know if those characters are going to continue on in the MCU. I mean, they've been around now for a while.
Right.
All good things have to come to an end. So it may very well be the end of days for him, at Marvel. I think DC needs him more too. What
if he's the guy? Would you?
That would be interesting,
right?
That would be interesting if he came in to sort of oversee things. But he also has like a very specific aesthetic that I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the appropriate fit for every movie. Not that every movie, if he did oversee things, like would take after his aesthetic.
Right.
I don't know. But okay, so there's the James Gunn stuff. Then there was the Superman stuff.
Yeah, Man of Steel 2.
It's kind of confirmed that they are writing a second solo Henry Cavill movie, which, so for all intents and purposes, Man of Steel 2, right?
Right, Man of Steel 2, yes. I mean, I like the idea. I like that Henry Cavill might be coming back to play this character again. I loved him as Superman. I loved Man of Steel. There are rumors that because they worked together on Fallout, that they might make a reach out to Christopher McQuarrie. If Christopher McQuarrie is your writer, and possibly director, I'm even more 100% on board with this idea of Man of Steel 2 and where they can go with it.
But he's not available for at least a year, McQuarrie.
Probably.
He has to finish those mission movies. So he can't start writing, a Black Adam versus Superman movie for at least a year.
No, I don't want Black Adam versus Superman and Man of Steel 2. Fuck that. What I want is Man of Steel 2, establish that situation. Mm-hmm. Then we get to the Black Adam. He still has to deal with, Black Adam and Shazam is the natural thing that has to happen in Shazam 3, I think.
Again, we were talking about Superman, Black Adam, Shazam. Yeah. So basically 3 separate franchises that are all then supposed to feed into one. Again, this is why you need someone at a DC pulling a Feige and mapping all this stuff out. Because as a consumer, it's all a little confusing.
Well, let me ask you this, because we've got Patty Jenkins doing the third Wonder Woman. That's pretty much set. So, but in the article, they also speculate that they're already writing a sequel to the Flash movie, which essentially intimates that Ezra Miller is staying on as Flash, regardless of all the stuff he was involved in. And he just pled not guilty earlier this week to those robbery accusations. So do you think this is a good look to keep going with Ezra Miller as your Flash?
It's not about if it's a good look. It's about is that movie going to make money? And they've seen it and they feel like it is.
Yeah.
And so if they want to, they want to keep making money, and they're going to develop a sequel. I've been saying this for months. Again, the internet thinks one thing and then the industry thinks another way. So I never felt at any point that Ezra Miller was actually in danger of losing their job.
I just thought they were going to do one movie and then they were going to find a way to move on. DC was going to find a way to move on from them and find someone else and maybe replace them down the road. The fact that they are willing to go forward, it seems like they're not doing it. That it seems like they're going on this whole press tour and they're apologizing, and even though they're claiming they're not guilty, they're apologizing and all of this stuff. So it seems like they're walking the same steps, but the backlash is kind of strong within the community. But you're right, on the outer rim on the outside of the bubble, people don't care. Yeah, people don't care. It's actually
don't care. You got to kill someone, rape someone, you got to do something really terrible. I mean, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. I actually got a text from a friend.
Okay.
Who used to be a big, a big assistant in this town to a big director. And she saw my tweet about Issa Rae, because Issa Rae weighed in on the situation.
Yes. And
I was just like, a fundamental lack of, understanding of the issues. And my friend was like, well, what did you mean by that? And I had to, and I took the time and I was happy to explain it to her, because I could tell maybe she was like a little upset, as if I was dismissing what Ezra had done. Yeah. It's like, you don't throw a $200 million, you don't just burn $200 million because a guy hit somebody. That's not the way it works. And not only is it just $200 million, it's hundreds of millions more in potential profits. So you don't throw away $500-600 million because a guy hit somebody. That's not how life works.
Well, in the context of what and this is her quote. She was talking to Elle magazine and she said, there's this person who's a repeat offender who's been behaving atrociously, and as opposed to shutting them down and shutting the production down, there's an effort to save the movie and them. She added.
Time out. So shut them down. Yeah. I don't know what shut them down means. Kill him? Like what?
No, they just mean like stop them from being part of the franchise and part of the IP. Remove them, recast. I think that's what she was saying.
Recast for what? They shut down the production. The production's done. So that's why I'm like, Issa Rae, what are you talking about? Shut down the production. The fucking movie's done. What are you shutting down?
Yeah. I think there's where Issa is a little bit off in not having the information fully available. And maybe at the time she did the interview, it was not known that the production had finished, and because they were doing reshoots, Jeff, for a number of days. That was being reported. So it's not done if there are still being reshoots.
A day or two reshoot doesn't make the movie undone.
No, I know you're right, but you can get away with that technicality. I think the point she's trying to make is correct, but it's the wrong stage of the film to be making that point, because you're right. DC, Warner Brothers Discovery, is not going to trash or scrap Flash after they spent so much money. Now, if they keep going forward with Ezra Miller and we keep seeing people clutching their pearls over Will Smith, then yeah, absolutely, we got to call that crap out, because get the fuck over it already and let's move on. And it's getting a bit frustrating to hear people constantly going after Will Smith, but Ezra seems to be getting a pass. And I think that's Issa's point that she's trying to make, that it's unfair balance here, how it is in Hollywood. So
let me tell you all the number
context is important, and you're right about context.
Let me tell you the number one rule of life. This is what I've learned in my 38 years on this planet. Number one, life, it's unfair. There you go.
Yes.
Life lessons from Jeff Sneider.
Well, here's life lessons from John Rocha. That's why you fight it when life is unfair, so you can call people out so that life isn't as unfair as it was when you first encountered it. So, all right. Anything more we need to touch on with the DC stuff you want to talk about? Ray Fisher. I mean, is Hamada moving out? Allow now Ray Fisher maybe to come back as Cyborg? If they're going to start bringing back all the Zack Snyder actors, possibly.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't understand why they're going in this direction. Get a new Superman.
Wow.
Audiences do not respond to Henry Cavill's Superman. I told you last week, that's a fact. Look at the numbers. Yeah. You think he's going to boost the numbers for Black Adam? Nobody fucking cares.
I thought he was, and then I looked to try to go to see Black Adam, because the theater was so full last night. I almost walked out. I don't like to be in big theaters anymore because of COVID, and I don't want to catch it again. I almost walked out. And I looked at a 4:00 showing today right by my house where I live, and there was 40 seats available in a 55-seat theater, and that shocked me, man.
Yeah, let me ask. This is a serious question. Do you think Henry Cavill's a movie star?
No, but I do think Henry Cavill is an A-list actor. I don't think he's a movie star, but I think he's an A-list actor. And I think for Superman, he works. But that doesn't mean
I liked him as Superman. I thought he was a good Superman. Yes. And I would totally be down to see another one. I'm saying this isn't my opinion. This is just from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Audience has rejected this guy. I'm telling you.
I don't know where the audience has rejected this guy. Do you mean from the Man of Steel numbers or BVS?
Man of Steel, whether it's
Okay.
the two Zack Snyder movies.
Yeah, BVS. Yeah.
Like, these movies underperformed.
That's true.
I'm not going to say all on him.
Yeah.
It's not all on Henry Cavill, but when it's Batman versus Superman, it's got to be on one of these fucking guys.
It's true. It's true. Let me ask you one question. We'll move on from it. Is Gal Gadot a movie star?
Yes.
You think so? You think she puts butts in seats?
I think that you can sell a movie with Gal Gadot. Boom.
Okay.
Like Gal Gadot, Heart of Stone, or whatever, like that spy movie that she's doing for Netflix. Like I think that will work.
No, I'm not talking streaming. Streaming is easy. I'm talking, can you put butts in seats? Can you open with $100 million movie? I don't think that she can.
No.
Yeah. No. If you do Mission Impossible, I don't know. Anyway, well, yeah. All right. So there we go. So we'll see what the deal is as it goes forward. Of course, all this stuff only makes DC feel like it's more unstable, even though other people responding to this article have said it's not. That DeLuca and Abdi are doing a good job just shepherding this thing into port, and then they'll go from there. And we'll see, because we really can't judge it over a few months. We got to see what Zaslav does over the next few years.
Are you familiar with Argyle? Like the movie that's coming out?
No. What is that? Oh, the one with Henry Cavill?
With
the
the
haircut?
flat.
Yes.
So let me ask you, what is Argyle to you? Is it a Henry Cavill movie? Or is it a Matthew Vaughn movie? Because to me, it's a Matthew Vaughn movie.
Yeah. I think you revere Matthew a little too much. I think to me, it's a Henry Cavill movie, and it's a Matthew Vaughn movie second. And then it's a spy movie. Then it's a Matthew Vaughn movie second. Yeah,
we can move on.
Yeah, all right. Let's hit some Streamlabs that have come through here real quick. Mike Mac 174, thank you, says, John, as a voice actor, do you have any thoughts or opinions on the Bayonetta 3 original voice actors being underpaid and calling for a boycott? Well, I don't know much about it. I haven't seen the news, but I will say this. Voice actors are often underpaid. We saw John DiMaggio publicly campaigning for getting paid for the Futurama situation. John's one of the best in the business. I've interviewed him and talked with him and spent time with him. What a genius in voiceover acting. But too many people, if you've made your name as a celebrity, you're going to get paid exorbitant amounts of money to voiceover. Voiceover actors don't usually come towards that level, unfortunately, because they're not known in the massive general public in the way that actors are. So unfortunately, this is how it goes. And they always try to shortchange voiceover actors. They're not the only ones, though. Everybody involved in production, aside from the director and possibly the name actors, do get kind of screwed over in voiceover situations. And so you got to fight. And I got no problem with fighting. Boycotting, I'd have to investigate the situation more to approve something like that. But certainly her clamoring for more money, I don't think is out of the realm of possibility at all. Jeff, any thoughts on that?
I saw that video now, right? Where she was saying she was paid $4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
highway robbery, particularly in the gaming industry, which is, they make like $100 million opening weekend or whatever, or even more.
You're disrespectful. I mean, when I did the scratch track for Moana, I did The Rock's. Like, I went into Disney Animation, sat in the booth where they recorded some of the great actors who've done stuff, and I got $200 for the day. And I did an entire movie. I voiced the entire movie as a scratch track to pitch it to The Rock. The Rock agreed to it. They make all this money, but my doing the voiceover to pitch what it would sound like got $200. So they always screw the voiceover actors in a way, unless you're a person of name. Nancy Mallory says, earlier this week, Universal announced that they're launching an initiative for TikTokers to become TV creators. Is this a bad idea, or does it have potential to succeed? Old man Sneider, what's your thoughts on this?
I did see that story. Again, I looked at the names and I haven't heard of any of these people. Now, I'm old and not on TikTok. So I get these people have 10 million followers. The question is, do these 10 million followers, do they follow you from one platform to the other? Will they actually watch you off of TikTok on a platform that maybe they have to pay for, whether it's they have to subscribe to Hulu or Netflix or whatever? That He's All That movie, right? Yeah. With what's her name? Well, I don't even.
Oh yeah. I forget what her name was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that crashed and burned on Netflix.
Yes.
So I don't really think that being an Instagram influencer or a TikTok person, I don't think it really translates. I've been hearing about this for years, whether it was Vine stars or YouTube. Name one of these people who has popped and really become a movie star or a TV star.
Yeah.
Are there actual examples?
Addison Rae is the person you're mentioning. I say Quinta Brunson is the only one that I can really kind of remember because she had that show on YouTube or Instagram, and it was and that's what ended up getting her the attention from TV executives and created Abbott Elementary. She's one of the rare ones that I see do that.
Sure. Yeah. But she is a writer.
Yes, right. Yeah, fair point.
I know that she acts in the show, and
right.
You know, she may very well be a star for years to come, but like decades down the line, she'll still be able to write and fall back on that. She is a writer first and foremost who can generate her own material. Right. I don't think Addison Rae does that.
No.
She's just another sort of pretty face with a big social following, but like, you know, when it comes down to it, if that social following isn't following you into the theater, then you just go with the other pretty face who may be more talented.
Yeah. That's a fair point, man.
So, I doubt anything significant comes of that deal, and I don't really understand courting these people all because they have followings. Does anyone at Universal even watch these people? Do they think like that they're just talented, or is it just, well, you know, I'm just trusting the teenagers, and there's 10 million of them following this girl, so we're gonna give her a deal?
Yeah, to me, I'd be looking more at the people who are creating these podcasts, these serialized podcasts, or these fiction podcasts, and creating stories from there. I think those are the people that I would look at to maybe kind of explore doing shows with or creating shows with. That would be the place I would go over TikTok, which is 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes tops. You know, not a lot of Vine people came over and became creators, even though some of them had millions and millions of followers. And some of those Vines in 6 seconds were hilarious, you know, so. Also Sketchcraft. Thank you. Sketchcraft says Black Adam being Superman main villain versus Shazam makes as much sense as if Venom were Morbius's main rival versus Spider-Man. Over under this plan continues if Black Adam does lackluster numbers at the box office. Yeah, I mean, if this thing underperforms.
If the Rock's getting ahead of himself.
Yeah. But I think he's doing that because he's a promoter. I mean, The Rock is a promoter. And people forget. He is a fantastic showman, right? People forget he was only in the WWE for 6 years. 6 years. He's been acting for much longer than he ever was in professional wrestling. So that you got to put that in your mind when you're factoring all this stuff. He wasn't like a 20-year professional wrestler and then became an actor. 6 years of actual WWE entertainment. And he wasn't on other promotions. He only did WWE. So think about that when you kind of put this.
Very few stars sell a movie like The Rock. You know, there's Cruise, there's Will Smith, and that's about it. It's not like Leo is selling his movies like The Rock. You know, so like I credit Dwayne as a showman and everything, and I also understand like why he's going gung ho about all the Superman stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, it's because tracking is going down.
Yeah, oh, you're probably right.
Let's talk about the other. Let's talk about that rumor.
The Fantastic Four room, is that what you're talking about? Which one? Okay. Let's take a quick break before we jump into that so I can do this on the podcast. All right, Jeff, you want to talk about this big Fantastic Four rumor? Please take it away. You broke big news last week. So
from industry sources necessary. This isn't something I'm reporting. I don't want this aggregated, you know, like this is not like the Harrison Ford situation, guys. Trust me. I would let you know. But like I did get a DM from someone, an unproven source, someone who I don't know who they are. I don't know, you know, where they work necessarily. But, you know, sometimes there are things that pass the smell test. You hear, you know, and so I'm going to choose to believe this person because, you know, it smells right to me that earlier this summer, around July, August, and again, I still don't know the timeline of casting for Fantastic Four. Like, is it going to be sooner rather than later? They're going to wait a beat. But someone had mentioned a name that had come in from Mr. Fantastic, and it made sense to me, John. It passed the smell test. Mm-hmm. Let me flash back to, what is it? 2013, 2014, I don't even know. Yeah. There were rumors that a certain actor was being courted for like a role in like Marvel and DC were fighting over this actor who was pretty at the time. And he ended up spurning them both. And a lot of young actors don't do that. If Marvel or DC are interested, they come running.
Yes.
This guy had another option though. And that was the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing a guy named Kylo Ren. We're talking about Adam Driver, of course. Mm-hmm. So Adam Driver has since, you know, become a movie star. I feel like he's gotten Oscar nominations in Marriage Story, and he's in fucking Annette, and he mixes it up between kind of like bigger stuff and smaller films. And so this person had said that Adam Driver had met with Marvel around July, August.
Ooh.
And I could see it. I think that he can do humor, first of all. Because I think that Mr. Fantastic needs to have some sort of sense of humor,
especially in Marvel. Yeah.
And yet there's also a seriousness to him, and maybe even a stoicism. I mean, he's a military guy, right? He also has this physique that I think is right, where he's kind of like awkward, like his physicality. It's important to him as an actor, but it's also kind of awkward. He has these gangly arms, and I could just see them. I could see him doing the stretch. I could just see it.
Right.
And I've heard him rumored for Doctor Doom as well. So maybe he just went in for a meeting on Fantastic Four and I have the role wrong or whatever. But Doctor Doom seems a little too close to Kylo Ren. I just feel like this guy, I think he knows he can do dark, and it's time for him to play like a real hero.
Yeah.
I feel like he's in that stage of his career. And we're also, no one's really talking about this movie mainly because a lot of people don't know what it is. But he has a huge dinosaur movie coming out next year called 65 from the writers of A Quiet Place.
Okay.
At 65 as in 65 million years ago.
Right.
And so like that is going to be, it could be a big movie. I don't know how big it's going to be, but it could be one of those kind of mid-budget movies like A Quiet Place that totally blow up and it become huge. So I don't know. I mean, rather than get into the whole like Adam Driver's Mr. Fantastic, what would you think if he was? Would you like it, John?
I'll tell you, this I think would be a fantastic decision and casting decision. You talk about movie stars. Adam Driver, I believe to a degree, is a movie star. And if the rumors are true about Jodie Comer as well, that they've been talking with her and possibly exploring this, Jodie Comer and Adam Driver as Sue Storm and Reed Richards is a fantastic 1-2 punch that goes along with what Marvel likes to do, which is to find these actors who are actual actors with layers and levels and nuance in their performances, done stuff in independent films or done stuff in TV shows that show the breadth of their talent and their abilities as an actor to go on these emotional journeys, and put them in Marvel movies, cast them in these roles. You're talking about Benedict Cumberbatch, Mark Ruffalo, countless others that have played, have done other stuff in independent films and have come over and been a part of the Marvel machine. I think these two would be a fantastic choice. But let's just focus on Driver. Driver's a great choice. He can do anger. He can do humor. As you watch him on SNL, he is hilarious on SNL. He can do these other things. He's a former Marine, so he's got these kind of interesting approaches to acting. He's done TED Talks. The guy is known.
He can play a leader, and that's what Mr.
Yes, a leader. Yes, that's what I'm getting at with the Marine stuff. Yes, yeah. I would buy it 100%. If they announce it tomorrow, I'd be very excited to see that. Yeah.
The Jodie Comer of it all would be interesting, but again, and I think we talked about this last week. Like, I look at things like Avatar. We've got Sam Worthington, white guy, and we've got Zoe Saldana. We've got, whether it's Star Trek, Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana. Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana. Yeah. Like, even the original Fantastic Four, right, with Jessica Alba. Like, I just don't know if they're gonna go white.
Yeah.
If they do white there, I think you got to have like a Latino Human Torch and maybe like a black Thing or something. Like, obviously, this is going to be a diverse team. I think that goes without saying.
Right.
It's not just going to be 4 white leads.
Yeah. I would like it. Yeah, I'm cool with being a person of another color. I just was looking at it, from just the vacuum of those two. I'd be excited to see that. But I'd be one of those people that would absolutely support the idea of an interracial couple being the part of Fantastic Four, which they kind of did, in a way, having interracial team, a more diverse team with Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch there in the previous iteration of Fantastic Four. So yeah, absolutely. Let's play with it. And there are a number of up and coming Latina black actresses who are now getting these exposed. Quintessa Swindell is fantastic in Black Adam last night. I want to see more from her. And so there's a lot of these actors that are not getting opportunities.
Fantastic Four because she's in Black Adam.
Well, I'm just saying there's more opportunities happening for people of color to have these opportunities to be seen so that they can make the jump into something like a Marvel movie. So yeah, I'd be down with that.
Did Adam Driver play Latino in Silence?
I don't listen. Let's not start walking down that road. I don't want to start walking down that road.
I mean, I was thinking like Ana de Armas. If they could get Ana de Armas,
oh my god,
like could they play off some sort of half sibling thing? I don't know.
That could be interesting.
Anyway,
because I mean, Human Torch is a brother, so you could play that with a Latino guy.
Yeah. I see it. I got you.
I could see that. Absolutely. Rachel Zegler for Sue Storm. There you go. You want to piss off Sneider? Absolutely.
Okay, so now I have a real rumor.
Okay. All right. Let's break it down.
We'll run this one. This is not comic book related. Again, that rumor was just some random on the internet messaging me and me thinking like there could be something there. But that's not a real proven time-tested source. Okay. This, I think there's a little bit more meat on the bone. Okay.
All right. Before Jeff goes forward, we got 215 of y'all watching us right now, but only 63 likes. Hit that like button right now. Hit that like button on this video. Keep sending in your Streamlabs and SuperChats. We're going to answer them after Jeff delivers this rumor and we talk about it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to need to rely on you on this one.
Okay.
Right? For the context of the movie and whatnot. But here's the deal. So I've been burnt. Like I've been burned holding news on female directors I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
I really like the one who did Revenge. And she's doing something for Universal now that I held for probably a year, and they end up giving it to Deadline. So I'm just gonna fucking throw this out there because I don't trust anybody.
Okay.
The best movie, one of the best movies I've seen in the last 2 years, and probably the best movie directed by a woman, was Pleasure.
Pleasure?
Yes. Did you see that one about the porn industry?
Yeah, it was on Showtime, both edited and unedited, and it was an unsettling film to watch in its brutal honesty, and it asked a lot of you as a viewer. It felt like old school independent films from the 1990s.
She's a fucking great director, Ninja Thyberg. I thought she did an amazing job with that movie, and so I hear that Ninja Thyberg wants to. She's exploring the studio system. The studio system, I'm calling, as the studio system should for a lot of these top female directors. Right. So I heard that Warner Brothers and Ninja was working on The Witches of Eastwick.
Oh,
for Warner Brothers.
Okay.
So I don't even know if I've seen The Witches of Eastwick. If I have, I was like a kid or something. But fill me in a little on The Witches of Eastwick and whether someone with Ninja's skill set is a good fit for that.
I think it would be a very interesting exploration of that film in her hands. Because, I mean, she's a Swedish director. So she's got a unique approach to film that's different from the American point of view, as you saw in Sensual, or Pleasure, rather. And the film itself is basically these three women. I think it's Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Cher, essentially bring the devil to the earth. And Jack Nicholson plays the devil. And they initially think they're going to employ him to kind of mete out some justice to some people who have fucked them over. But in the end, they start to have like relationships or sexual relationships with him, and it becomes a thing. And eventually they realize they've got to turn on him to stop him from taking them over and taking everything over. So it becomes that. And that's essentially Witches of Eastwick, which was a great showcase for all the actors involved at the time. I think it's 1987, but it's a fantastic film.
I can see what you mean. Like, it's interesting that it explores power structures and
yes.
Feminine power. Cause I think that Pleasure, also touched on those themes. So I could see her doing something really interesting with it. Again, I don't know if it will come to fruition. I'm sure a movie like that sort of depends on the casting.
Yeah.
But if I was fucking talented in this town, I'd be lining up to work with Ninja Thyberg. She really, really impressed me with Pleasure. And it's nice to see her start to be mentioned for some of these studio projects.
Yeah. So here's the log line for those of you. It tells a story of three women who are unaware of the power of the words they speak. As they tell each other their deepest dreams, a man arrives just in time and fulfills them, but has a dark side of his own. So essentially, they were asking for these wishes to come true. The devil shows up to give it to them, and they think they're living this great life, and then they realize what his actual goals are. And it's directed by George Miller, who did the Mad Max movies. So it's a hell of there's some big footsteps for her to be walking in. And I imagine her dynamic of the power, but just the sexual dynamics as well, would be very interesting in her hands. And I wonder what three actresses and the main Jack Nicholson part, who would be playing those roles. It could be fascinating to see for sure. I like that idea. Susan Sarandon disowned that movie. Well, she's disowned a lot of things over the last few years. All right, well, let's take a quick break and we'll jump into some more news right after this. Keep sending in your Streamlabs. All right, Jeff, let's hit some of these that have come through here, or at least one of them has come through. A Twin Paradox says, I don't think any actor these days can generate $100 million just on their involvement alone. The days of the true movie star are over. The IP or even the director are the biggest draws into fans now. Even Tom Cruise needs the IP of Mission Impossible or Top Gun to guarantee success. Jeff?
Do we really think that the director matters? Like, I mean, there are some directors like a Spielberg or a James Cameron where, like, I could tell my brothers, oh, this is the new Spielberg movie, the new Cameron movie.
Yeah.
And they may be interested. But, like, if I'm like, I mean, if I'm like, oh, it's the new Joe Kosinski movie or James, like, I just don't think James Gunn, I don't think it really matters. I think movie stars don't have the cachet that they once did.
Yeah.
And you're right to say, like, content is king.
Yeah.
You know, people don't go see movie stars or movie directors anymore. It's what is the movie that I'm going to see.
Right.
I think that always, reigns supreme, but movie stars still help. I mean, Tom Cruise, Top Gun Maverick opened to what it did.
Yeah.
Around as long as it did because of a movie star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not because people wanted to see planes go fast on the air.
Yeah, people weren't like, oh, I really got to see this well-written Top Gun Maverick film. Even though it was well-written, the story was really well done. It was seeing Tom Cruise go through the emotional journey that he went through in that movie with that character that a majority of people who went to see that movie had fallen in love with from the first Top Gun movie, And so that's the thing. Like, when I think of Top Gun, immediately Tom Cruise, Tony Scott's right behind, but it's Tom Cruise first. Just like this movie, it's Tom Cruise first. Kaczynski a little bit further down the line in my mind of what I think about when that movie comes up. So, yeah, for the most part, I think you're right. But yes, Tom Cruise can still do the job when he needs to. Let's move on to this Black Panther story here, Jeff. It is tracking, according to Deadline and the tracking service NRG, Wakanda Forever, the Black Panther 2 here, is eyeing $175 million opening weekend that would give it the second best opening of 2022 behind Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which debuted at $187 million. And last year's Marvel sequel, Spider-Man No Way Home, has the biggest domestic opening of the pandemic at $260 million. Black Panther made $1.3 billion. I think from the trailers and from the approach here, we're looking at $200 million. I don't know about I think the 175 is low. What do you think?
I don't know, man. It
Okay.
seems about right. It might be a little low, like maybe it goes to 190. I don't know if it's going to hit 200 million. I don't know.
Really?
Like, do you think that part of it was like the novelty of seeing, not that he was the first Black superhero, but obviously there was a lot of cultural stuff attached to Black Panther that got people who never go to the movies into the theater.
Right.
Do those people come back for a sequel, or was that just because it was a special thing?
Well, this is a fantastic point you make, because Chadwick Boseman is not a part of this, sadly, because he's passed on. So do the people who came to see it because they love Chadwick Boseman's introduction in, was it Civil War, and wanting to see more of him in Black Panther, now do those people stay home at large enough numbers that it affects the opening of this one? Because you don't know who's going to be Black Panther, but you know it's a female. You're introducing Submariner, who a lot of people, Namor, who a lot of people do not know. Tenoch Huerta, who's not really a well-known name actor.
He's not Michael B. Jordan.
And no Michael B. Jordan. Right. So you've got, and there's nothing against Angela Bassett or Letitia Wright or Lupita Nyong'o or Danai Gurira. But, are they going to put the butts in the seats? Is this enough? So I hear you. I think it's still going to be 200, because I hope that more people, that those people are going to come back. But maybe you're right. Maybe 175, 190 is the ballpark.
We also have to factor in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? We've lost people who just aren't going to go to the movies anymore. I'm gonna take the under on 200, but I could see it going above 175 to something like 185, 190.
What about 1.3 billion? Will it surpass what the original Black Panther did? If it's a good movie, and remember, this is a 2 hour and 40-minute movie. This is not a 2 hour 15-minute movie. This is 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Here's the other thing. So with the first Black Panther, there was no Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So how many people are just going to be like, you know what? I'll just wait for Disney Plus.
That's a good point. It's an excellent point, Jeff, for sure.
Again, pandemic, no Disney Plus. Like, there are just factors that are different. No Chadwick. I don't know that it will reach the same heights, but it's going to do obviously extremely well.
I don't think you can discount the Chadwick Boseman factor of it all. He had that thing, that charm. And people wanted to see him in this role. They sensed from the.
But I'm sure a lot of people are curious how they're going to do the sequel and handle his death and everything. So that may up the curiosity factor.
And all in the game. I love your idealism. Latinos are definitely going to show up as well. I don't know. They didn't show up for West Side Story. They didn't show up for In the Heights. And judging from the Andor numbers, they're not showing up to watch the Star Wars being led by a Latino. So I don't know if I can count on Latinos to show up anymore to anything that's Latino-led or people of color-led. I don't know anymore. So I'm kind of changing my mind on all of that as I see hard numbers come back and do my own analysis of it all. So we'll see if they show up.
Part of that is like the movie. Again, it's the content. How many Latinos are dying? I'm sure they're excited to see a Latino cast in West Side Story or In the Heights, but at the end of the day, these are fucking musicals. How many people really want to see musicals? I think that the Latino community is going to really show up for Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle, right? Which, if we can say things, people are DMing us. I had a DM from a guy I trust who had a screening of Blue Beetle, early screening of Blue Beetle. They're starting to show it early to some people. And said that was received very well, and that 30% of the movie is in Spanish. So it is absolutely
a good headline too. I actually thought about picking up that headline for Above the Line. That is interesting. That 30% of it, estimated is in Spanish.
Yeah, I like that.
But I think people are more accepting of that stuff. Like, I never could have gotten my dad to watch subtitles back in the day. But then a show like Narcos comes along and he's like, okay, I could watch something with 40% subtitles or whatever.
Right. They should have subtitled some of those Boston accent conversations.
You can't understand what the fuck anybody's saying. All right, let's stay in the Coogler universe.
Okay, where are we going?
Creed 3.
Yeah, what a trailer.
Goodness
gracious. Dude, Jonathan Majors, please, can you make a workout video right now telling us everything you did to look like that?
He looks fucking swole. He looks jacked. And so, it was interesting. I didn't have time to get to the Creed 3 trailer the day that it dropped.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to post it on the site, on Above the Line. All right.
Oh, nice.
And so I did it the next day. But I'm like, well, how do you get people to click on a trailer that the entire internet has seen a day later? So I included some test screening stuff that I'd heard.
Yes.
And the trailer posted very, very well. It kind of took off. So the stuff that I'd heard is that the people who have actually been lucky enough to see this movie, there were, comments on the cards that came back that said, I found myself rooting for Dame.
Yeah.
Because, and even in the trailer, I think, didn't you kind of identify with him? You're like, oh, here's this kid who probably got screwed over somehow, sent it, behind bars, watching someone else lead the life he felt he was supposed to lead. Like, he's the underdog, and you kind of want to see him rise up and knock out Donnie.
I don't know. I think there's a growing resentment towards Michael B. Jordan that I didn't know about until some people clued me in about it over the last few years, including our brother RB3, Robert Butler III, who has been very clear on his distaste for Michael B. Jordan. Oh, yeah. He thinks
Michael RB3 next time I see him about.
Yeah, please. He will. There's many episodes on SEN Live where he would speak about his dislike of Michael B. Jordan's acting. He thinks he's a face actor and not an actual depth actor. Like, he just does faces to portray the actual emotion rather than feeling the emotion. I don't agree, but but there are a few people who feel this way. That being said, I did not gravitate to the Damien character. Huh?
Fruitvale is just so good.
Yeah, Fruitvale Station is so good. But I did not gravitate to the Damien character because I know that guy. I grew up with that guy who was jealous of any success you had, who thought that the world screwed him over, which is why he didn't get to what he wanted, and thinks, oh, well, if you can do it, I can do it too. My life is full of people who think they can do what I do all the time easily. And so for me, I felt more for Adonis. That being said, I can totally see people gravitating to Damien because, as Chris Rock once said in one of his bits, they celebrate you getting out of prison. They don't celebrate you getting out of college or getting a master's degree in certain communities of color. And that matters. And that's an important aspect of this. I think from the trailer myself, I got a glimpse of this is now, you know how Rocky was an American story for sure, but an Italian approach to the American story, the vibe of it. This is very much the Black approach to the American story of this guy. And I love that. It's a good mixture of both. This idea that they were kids. He probably took the fall for Adonis and went to jail, never ratted him out. And so that's why Adonis feels like he owes this guy because he did this for him. But, you know, once you let a guy in who's jealous of what you do into your circle, they will try to destroy it and try to take what you got. And it seems like he become, you know, that happens.
I just really like the setup for this.
Yeah,
really
me too.
As a premise. And at no point was I like, where's Rocky in this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this movie doesn't seem like it's going to need him.
Yep. And I think that's going to be, I think that's why Frank Stallone is pissed because I think he senses that they're moving fast. I think that's why Stallone and Frank Stallone are both pissed because they probably have heard the positive buzz over this. And it's like Rocky's getting forgotten as Creed becomes the branch now of this franchise.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, that's just life.
Yeah.
Sure. But definitely looking forward to that movie next March. I even like the 3 slashes with like the 323. You know, like it's a good campaign. I think that MGM is putting together for that one.
I agree. Let's take a quick break. We'll jump into some more stories and check in on the Streamlabs Super Chats right after this. All right, Jeff, do you want to jump to some Paul Feig news, some Netflix news? What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the Netflix Q3 stuff really quick.
Okay.
You know, they added 2.41 million subscribers in Q3, but you know, it's like they're introducing ads in Q4.
Yes.
Right, and so it's going to be $3 cheaper for a month for folks who decide to do the ads. But they also said that they're not really expecting to convert a whole lot of people into that tier, right? I just feel like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on right now with Netflix. They also said they're going to do away with subscriber target numbers. So like in the Q3 report they say, all right, we're also expecting to add 4.5 million subscribers in Q4. That'll be the last time that they put something like that out, and the only time that we'll hear subscribers really is when they announce a total. I just feel like obviously Wall Street was really impacting the industry, right? At first they were enamored with streaming, and then they kind of cooled on it. And, like Netflix, I think in the years to come, I know that they said otherwise with Glass Onion, but you're going to see more theatrical stuff, I think, from Netflix. Like you can't make $200 million movies consistently and then hope that they're going to bring in enough new subscribers to pay for them, because there's a cap on, how many people are going to, subscribe to streaming services.
Sure. So
I just feel like some of Netflix's bigger titles, they're going to really have to commit to putting them in theaters longer and giving them a real marketing campaign. With Glass Onion, they're getting a 600 screen release. They are in all 3 major theaters for the first time. And there is a blackout window, which, is smart, because I think it makes people feel like, oh, I have to see this movie this week, because if not, I have to wait a month for it to hit Netflix. But I just did you look at the earnings report at all?
I'm of the mindset, because they doubled what they had, or almost doubled what they had projected from the earlier quarter, and I'm of the mindset that I wonder if Netflix isn't goosing this a little bit, kind of under promise and over deliver type of thing, and so it makes them, you know what I'm saying? It makes it seem like, oh, look, they overperformed, and look, but if you and look, the stock skyrocketed 14% after this report.
And is the company really worth 14% more now than it was 2 hours ago?
Right, exactly. And the other part of this, they picked up a majority of these pickups in the Asia Pacific area, and only 100,000 in the USA, Canada. That tells me that they're running out of steam in the places that they had used to rely on as the main source of their subscriber growth. And a lot of analysts are saying we're getting close to the peak. Like there's not much more they can do because numbers wise, they're killing every other streaming service. They're only like YouTube is the only thing that's really kind of matching.
They're plateauing.
They're plateauing.
Netflix. There's only so much you can grow. It's
naturally.
It's like kind of feels like the Wrap, to be honest. Like when I was at the Wrap, like it was just growing, and then it hit a certain level, and it's like, all right, this is where we're gonna kind of be.
Yeah.
With Netflix adding all those subscribers overseas and whatnot, it's like, well, how much are they paying? How much are part of like deals or bundles with phone carrier, all this stuff. Like the number is good. Oh, they added instead of losing subscribers, which they've done the last 2 quarters. Oh, they're adding. But really, how much are they making per subscriber in those territories? That's
right. That's you got to explore that. And Ted Sarandos, to go back to your earlier point here, he made it clear in the interviews after this report came out that he thinks these films need to stay on Netflix. He says we're in the business of entertaining our members with Netflix movies on Netflix.
Yes,
there are all kinds of debates all the time back and forth, but there's no question internally that we make our movies for our members, and we really want them to watch them on Netflix. So I don't anticipate that they're going to be looking at theater windows as something they need to be putting their big money movies on, even for a week.
The math doesn't work, John. Like I get that that's what he's saying. Yeah, we want to make movies for our subscribers and that kind of thing. But the math, you can't pay $469 million for 2 Knives Out movies and then hope that they're gonna basically make that up in subscription fees.
Yeah.
Like you might as well put it out in theaters. The math doesn't make sense to me.
Well, because they won't reveal numbers, like real, actual, concrete numbers that the business analysts
from the box office. Yeah, they don't have to report the box office if they never did.
Exactly.
It would be on Rivals to leak that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which I wonder if they ever.
Like Amazon has 200 million, subscribers too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's another one that's.
Let me correct you. That's Prime Video. They don't like to say Amazon anymore. Prime Video.
Good point. Okay, what else?
Daniel Haygood says, thinking about giving you my law license to be Hollywood Insider and get a spot on this show. I met a screenwriter once. I know things, y'all. Oh, yeah. Okay, Daniel. Smart ass. Let's see. We got a Streamlab that came through. Oh, 2 of them from James _ McDonald. He says, really enjoy watching you guys. With Avatar 2 coming out, do you see a resurgence in 3D? I feel if it was supported in streaming and video on demand, then it would be more attainable. I feel looking at demand was flawed when it was tied to physical media. Looking at it on demand was flawed when it was tied to physical media.
No, dead.
No. Yeah.
No. I think for maybe one movie a year could support a big 3D release, particularly something like an Avatar, where that they really spent the time. I mean, first of all, Jaws 3D was amazing. I thought Jaws 3, the re-release of Jaws was excellent. Did you see it?
Jaws, yes. Jaws in 3D, not Jaws 3D. Make sure you say there's a difference because there is a Jaws 3D.
The 3D job that they did on Jaws was terrific.
Yeah.
And I do kind of want to see Avatar in 3D, but no, I don't think it's going to mount a comeback. And a lot of the reason is, again, we're still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
We really trust, we really want to start sharing glasses with everybody. The eyes is definitely one way, you can transmit stuff, or we trust 17-year-olds to clean these glasses. Like, nah.
Right. Yeah. They sell those. I mean, they put out the ones in plastic, but you're not going to get the same result as those real big focus ones that block out everything that get you that, and you have to share those. Yeah, so I think it's a dead technology. Much to the chagrin of my brothers over there at Heroes Reforged with Hector Navarro and Adam and Augustine. They love the 3D stuff, but I know I think Jeff's right. It's only for certain movies, certain event movies. Fun to go. It's some extra money to go see. You can make some extra money putting it in 3D, but in no way is it going to come back at the same level. Because I'll tell you what, I bought a 3D TV 10 years ago. I couldn't even sell it for $250 5 years later. And it was a Samsung 55-incher. I eventually had to just donate it to Goodwill. So it was heartbreaking. So I don't think that technology is coming back.
I remember that craze where people were buying 3D TVs and stuff, and it was
I'm an idiot.
Have like, you know, the 3D gravity Blu-ray and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like, who was sitting there watching this shit in their living room with the glasses on? Not me.
I did. I still have Top Gun 3D, which actually wasn't a bad transfer, to be honest with you. Let's see. James_McDonald also says, on Creed 3, I got the same feeling from Jonathan Majors as I got from Tom Hardy's character in Warrior. Jaded, hurt, and feelings of abandonment, but super charismatic. Yeah, if there's a turn with him in the movie, then I can see why people get with Damien. If you find out that Adonis never visited him, that Adonis never does, then you start to see maybe that there's some issues with Adonis's behavior during these years. So you might root for Damien at that point if that gets exposed. And I also find it ironic, Jeff, that this is what's coming out about the movie, considering how much people loved Killmonger over Black Panther in the Black Panther movie. Now the reverse.
The tables are turned. By the way, I also heard Felicia Rashad is really good.
No surprise.
Did you see that? I mean, it is noon. We have to wrap this up in like 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
Did you see the Paul Feig clap back at David Rooney, who gave?
Can you explain that a little bit? What happened there?
David Rooney gave at Hollywood Reporter, I think, gave a bad review to the School of Good and Evil, which pay me to watch. As much as I love Paul Feig, and Paul Feig just, sort of clapped back at him, was like, I'm so sorry you didn't like it, David. Could I have one of the characters in the movie cast a spell on you just to make you think that you liked it? I really didn't see a problem with this. I saw other critics being like, maybe it was Bill Jabir, or maybe it was Guy Lodge. I always confuse and Guy. I think it was Guy Lodge, and he was just like, what's with the director who has 2 million followers on Twitter clapping at a critic who has 2,000? Like, it's not a fair fight. But I'm like, it's not really a fight. These guys are entitled to clap back at criticism.
Yes.
And as critics, we have to have the thick skin to take it. If we can dish it out, you got to take it. So I don't think that he said anything that was out of line, but I also think that, it's just a no-win scenario when directors do that.
Listen, some critics can be the bitchiest, most fucking petty, sensitive little guys on the planet and little girls on the planet. And it's frustrating because Jeff's absolutely right. If you can dish it out and you love pulling out your big sharp knife and your forks and cutting something to pieces and giggling and smirking and snarking as you write your reviews, you better be able to take it if someone claps. Especially Paul Feig, who is one of the most, from what everyone says, one of the nicest guys to work with and whatever, and he's just clapping back in a way that's funny, then, fucking get over it. Grow up. It's not a big deal. It's not an issue. I don't know why some critics are so damn sensitive. You say anything about anything, yet they want to feel the need to go after anybody they want to go after. And I find that to be a huge hypocrisy with some of them. And it's frustrating, especially because, I know some of them. I interact with some of them. And it's frustrating to see that online because they're the first people to criticize other people, yet they can't take the criticisms themselves. So, that was ridiculous. I think Paul Feig's got every right to push back. And social media following should not matter at all. If you're going to poke the bear, don't get mad at the bear swings. It's as simple as that. You poked him.
Are we expecting Hollywood Reporter to review this YA Netflix movie favorably? Come on, Paul. You took the money, you took a paycheck gig. Now fucking live with the reviews. Come on.
But I got no problem if he claps back though. That's for sure.
Is there anything else that's pressing on your mind, John?
No, I think we did the Netflix thing. We did Paul. No, is there anything you tweeted about that you want to give even more time to in your mind? Lord knows, I know you love to drop them tweets.
I don't think so.
Oh, Anna Faris. Oh my God, we got to talk about the Anna Faris story.
Let's end it with that story. Yes.
Yeah, let's end it with that story. Go ahead. So Anna Faris, go ahead, man.
Anna Faris said that Ivan Reitman slapped her on the ass while filming My Super Ex-Girlfriend. Now, Ivan Reitman obviously not with us to defend himself or anything like that. Jason Reitman hasn't offered any comment. Sounds like a very believable story. It's a bummer that happened. I feel bad for Anna. She's a professional. She carried on and everything, but clearly it's stuck with her. She was embarrassed in front of the entire crew. And shame on Ivan Reitman. I don't really know what else to say other than that kind of shit is obviously not acceptable. And I'd be shocked if I heard of that kind of behavior these days.
Well, I mean, look, this is the deal, people. Your comedic heroes. There are a lot of frustrated people in comedy, and things happen. And certainly there's a huge misogynistic streak amongst male comedians in comedy. By Adam Carolla saying women aren't funny. Jerry Lewis, all the way back in those days, saying women aren't funny. So the idea that Ivan Reitman might slap Anna Faris's ass in Hollywood on the first day of her on set, by the way, shows a power dynamic, not just a gender power dynamic, but a power dynamic in that a director to actress, I can do what I want to because I'm the director. I'm Ivan Reitman. You're Anna Faris from some parody films about scary movies. Right. And there's a difference. So, yeah, absolutely. And the fact that Jason doesn't say anything, I think says volumes. The fact that no one is coming to Ivan Reitman's defense on the male side of things says volumes. Bill Murray having his issues, Chevy Chase having his issues, all part of the Ivan Reitman connection here.
They came from a different era.
Yeah, from a different era. She said this on her podcast, Unqualified. She was talking with Lena Dunham, who is promoting her film that's out now on Prime Video. She said, this is what Anna Faris says, one of my hardest film experiences was with Ivan Reitman. I mean, the idea of attempting to make a comedy under this like reign of terror. He was a yeller. He would bring down somebody every day. And my first day, it was me. As a, I'm not a woman. So that experience of being slapped on the ass, I can't viscerally connect to it, but I certainly can understand it. Her talking about being talked down to and that he did that with everybody every day. We hear about those directors that are terrors on set. It hurts, right, to find out that Ivan Reitman was one of those possible directors who was frustrated. And it may just be because Ivan was, he did some pretty shitty movies after he had his 80s heyday and never could quite recapture it. And maybe some of that frustration was coming out in him yelling at people.
About the set and who you're surrounded with, on a movie like that, maybe he just, the power may have just gone to his head or whatever. And,
yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, come on, guys. Dead man can't defend himself. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break with that nonsense. I hate when people say that shit. We can't talk about Hitler. We can't talk about John Kennedy. We can't talk about.
That's absurd. That's absurd. I mean, to say that would be just like, oh, we don't believe. That would basically, say we're not believing Anna Faris. Like,
yeah. And look, she didn't say he was. She's speaking her truth about what's the experience. Yeah. Were you on the set? Those of you who say dead man can't defend himself, come on, man, cut that nonsense out. She's got a right to speak her truth about what happened. And then we'll find out, as it goes along, if there are other people going to come forward and talk about some of the treatment they got from Ivan Reitman. So it's an opening of the door to this, and there's nothing wrong with having this conversation for sure. All right, well, there you go. Let me see. No more Streamlabs, no more Super Chat. So thank you all so much for sending it in. Jeff, another fun show. Please let people know where they can find you.
We did forget to address that Sacha Baron Cohen thing, but we can get into that next week.
Okay.
Right, because that was going to be our into the Fantastic Four thing. Oh, well.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Hands blew up. I am at abovetheline.com, btlnews.com, The Ankler, and LA Mag, where I should have a review of Black Adam tomorrow morning, since I plan on seeing it tonight.
Well, there you go. All right. And as for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Please remember to subscribe to the channel down below. This is where the hot mic lives. So give a subscription there, but also go and subscribe to it on the podcast feed. Now that we are sponsored by Above the Line, maybe Jeff and I will start doing some extra 30-minute content as an additional episode that will only live on the podcast feed about one subject or a couple of subjects that pop up through the week. So we might be doing that, if I can convince Jeff to do that, to generate more podcast numbers, more subscriptions. So you guys subscribe wherever you download podcasts to the podcast, and that stuff will be coming for sure down the road.
Follow the Above the Line socials if you guys can. That's Line Above on Twitter, and I believe it's Above the Line 22 on Instagram.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget all the other Outlaw Nation content on the channel as well to watch. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Hot Mic.